Fuck it. But anyways, so how you guys doing? You guys doing all right? You guys holding up all right?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
Yeah.
Doing well, doing well. I mean, I can't complain. Life is good. Life is great, even in the midst of all this.
Yeah, fantastic, man. Fantastic. You know, everything's going so crazy. Like, I kind of forget that we're still in the middle of a pandemic, too.
We are literally in the end times.
Really?
That's the times we're in right now. We are in the end times, and I don't mean to come on here to scare anybody, to cause fear in anybody's hearts, but I'm just here to speak real. We are literally living in the end times.
I mean, it feels like it at this point. Like, I've literally just heard the other day that there's supposed to be an asteroid that's passing between Earth and, it's really close. So, I mean, it really feels like it with everything that's going on. What's up, Randall? Randall Travis in the chat. Yeah, Randall's here.
What's up, buddy?
So, I've been following Blake's Snapchat a little bit.
Yep.
I've seen her go to some of the protests. So what is her experience with some of it right now?
So she actually called me a couple hours ago, and she told me that she don't want to tell my mom or anybody. She just told me specifically that she was out in Denver protesting and stuff, and that she was in a sense like leading it.
All right.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, like she was saying how she was like standing on top of stuff, like.
Wow, that's crazy. So she why is she posted on Snapchat? She don't want your mom to know. I thought your mom follows her.
She does, but I don't know. Because my mom, she's all about safety. Like she told me not to, go out in the streets of Atlanta, just to be inside, be safe. So it's something I don't know. She didn't want my mom to see, but I think she was protesting.
Yeah, I think we're gonna. Well, I think I have plans to go on Sunday. We haven't gone yet just because we still are back from Maryland. So we still could potentially be contagious with COVID without showing any signs. So I don't want to go to incite anything or do anything. I just want to go to experience it and to see, just so I can officially like talk about it from a first person perspective and be a part of it, But it's really interesting that she's there. I'd love to have her on one day to talk about her perspective and what's going on. I feel like I kind of ratted her out a little bit. I didn't know that. Tell her I love her and I'm sorry.
No, but like if she's doing that stuff though, if she's doing that stuff, I feel like she should be a little bit more open with it. Like if that's what she believes in and she like truly thinks like it's gonna make a difference, like do that shit. Just like say it with your chest, be confident. Who cares what the rest of the family thinks? At the end of the day, it's about like how she personally feels about the situation,
Right. That's exactly what we're kind of doing with this podcast. Today we have literally nothing to gain from this episode and everything to lose. So I feel like, fuck it. If people don't want to listen to this conversation, I mean, that's what Daydreams is. It's the middle ground. We're here to have these kind of conversations and talk about it. And I feel like if she really supports that, I mean, I'd love to have her come on and talk about her experience. So
yeah, definitely.
But
reach out to her sometime. I know she'll be down to come on and speak.
For sure.
She's like I said, I'm pretty sure you've seen her Snapchats and stuff, but she's taking flight lessons right now. She wants to become a pilot, and I was like, that's perfect in these times right now. If things were to get real, real hectic and real,
hey, you can fly us right out of here.
Yeah, like in 2012, when everything, like all the earthquakes and the ground was going shaking, and they were in that.
I hope you're all right, Brandon.
So.
Yeah, the movie 2012, where they're like, they're surviving the earthquakes and everything.
Yeah, and they went in that plane.
Yeah, I'm gonna
be our pilot.
Yo, she's good at taking pictures, man. I really needed to come out and do some, or I go to her. I don't care. I needed to take some promotional material videos for Daydreams.
Yeah, she'd be down for that.
Randall says, to let you all know, physical therapy has been put on hold, and I was at the hospital 8 hours yesterday due to a bad seizure, and I fell and hurt myself pretty bad. Randall, I hope you're okay, man. Thank you for telling us, and thank you for keeping us updated. We've had some setbacks with Randall's physical therapy, but we're making sure that we make progress every day. So keep it up, buddy. Keep it up. We love you, and thank you for keeping us updated. Let's start by, I guess, going over the protest then. Chandler Rook says, love you, cuz. let's start by going over the protest because I think it's a little misunderstood right now. There's what's sad is people are doing the same thing that they're doing to cops, and they're generalizing the entire protest to discredit it. So what they're doing is saying, oh, because of the looting and because of the violence, that automatically discredits any sort of protest that happens. And when you do that, you kind of shut the conversation down. And it for me, it doesn't feel like that does it justice. Like, how can you just generalize a group of people into something that a few minorities do, and then you turn around and say, oh, it's not all bad cops. It's not all, it's not all that. It doesn't make sense to me. So what are your opinions on that?
Bradley, I'll let you go first.
Man, it's just like, it's my personal opinion on it. Fucking, I don't agree with, like, everybody generalizing things. I think it should be taken, like, circumstance to circumstance. Like, I try. It's not that, like, I don't support one side or the other, like, in terms of, like, law enforcement and stuff like that, but it's hard for me to, like, form an opinion on things based off of just what I'm reading on the news and, like, based off of what I'm seeing on, like, Instagram and stuff, because a lot of it's third-hand information. I don't know if it's fact-checked or not. And it's like, most of the time, like, I'm not going to get my information, and I'm not, like, going to listen to it unless it's coming directly down, like, my chain of command being in the military, because I know that that's a reliable source. When I see, like, a random post on Instagram and, somebody's, like, playing a video, like, that stuff could be from, like, years and years ago, you know what I mean? And then, like, they're bringing it back up just because, like, this happened. So, like, for me, it's hard for me to form an opinion on, like, everything that's going on. Like, I believe, as Americans, you have your constitutional rights, and, we're obligated to give you those rights, and it's, that's when rights start to get infringed upon, is where I start to get, like, touchy with things, because, like, I don't really know where those fine lines are. So, like, I'm kind of, like, blind with the whole situation going on right now, because I'm trying to look at it from, like, a logical standpoint. Like, where is the fine line between, police brutality and excess force, and, like, where is it too much, I guess, you know what I mean? Like, because we're not there in person, like, yeah, we have the video and stuff, but we don't know the pretense, like, what was happening before that. Yes, you have witnesses that say that, but, like, it's hard for me to, like, really form an opinion about the scenario unless I'm actually there in person, you know what I mean?
Right. I think what everybody is in agreement upon, though, is the fact that, what that police officer did was excessive force. Like, and I think everybody can get behind that. I haven't seen anybody, especially with what happened, like, specifically we're talking about George Floyd, the incident that happened with him. I have not seen one person stand out and say, that cop was a hero, because that's ridiculous. If you've watched the video, which I'm sure most people have by now, like, it's hard to sit through. Like, the guy had his full weight on this other guy's neck, another human being's neck, until he passed out, and still held his foot or his knee on this guy's neck. Like, even after. It's like that was hard to watch.
Yeah, very corrupt.
Yeah.
And abusive power, I like to say. I mean, this has been happening for years and years and years. From even times from Martin Luther King. And, right now with the media, we can't trust the media. What we see on TV, what we see with our eyes, a lot of what the media portrays to us, they try to show us exactly what happened, but a lot of things they leave a lot of things that are missing or that are left out. And it's like Bradley said, you can't know the full truth unless you actually seen it with your own eyes. You're in person, and you are awake to what's happening. Like, you're seeing what's happening in person. Because the media, they're full of deception. Now with that video, yes, like they shown us exactly, what he did to George Floyd. And, a lot of people all around the world, have, seen and are witness to what's going on with police brutality, with the abuse of power. And yeah, it's just corrupt, man. And, at the end of the day, I feel like right now, people, the agenda is to be peaceful, right? The agenda is not to cause violence. The answer is not violence for violence. But what happened back in the day with Martin Luther King, obviously that didn't make that big of a difference. Because if it did make a difference, this would not be happening today. And I think people are fed up, are just, they're trying to answer in the wrong way, which is with violence. And I think that's what's happening right now. It's very sad, honestly.
Well, there's a call right now there's a call for police officers to be defunded, which I don't think is the right answer. There's a really big push, and I think California, somewhere, I think it was in LA, that I read that they're going ahead with the call that police are being defunded $150 million. That money is being reallocated somewhere else. And to me, I think that that's a rush decision and a bad call. I understand that we have issues and it needs reform, but to play devil's advocate here a little bit, police officers go through a lot. And I'm not trying to condone what happened to George Floyd. That guy deserves to rot in jail, the police officer. He deserves to go to jail for life and never get out. But it's challenging, when people their immediate reaction is to defund the police. And it's like, well, is that the right decision? Should we be doing that? Is that where we should be going? Should we not be looking at police unions and figuring out, maybe certain ways that, citizens can, adjust their rights or maybe have more of a say in the process? Because I think the police officer had like 10, 15 complaints against him before this incident happened. Like, if we had just examined that and been like, yo, okay, this guy has so many complaints, we could probably be able to say, all right, well, we could see this coming, get this guy out. But to defund the police, I don't know if that's going to solve the issue. Right. I've seen like a giant call for police or for people saying that we can defend our own communities, and I don't know about that. I don't think we're hearing about the stories where police have actually solved crimes and stopped murders from happening. Because I was just talking to a police officer the other day, and he was saying, well, we stopped the shooting that the guy, they came in on a shooting where a guy just shot his wife's brains out. And yeah, I know that's graphic, but like, he held his kids hostage. And if the police weren't there, if they weren't trained and knew what to do, then he could have taken his kid's life or more people's life. So I'm just not sure if that's the right answer, and that's why we're here to discuss. So let me get to some of these comments real quick. There's restraining, and then there's excessive force, and that cop was way out of line. Right. I completely agree with that. Do you feel the video is different from some others? I don't know what you mean by that. In what way?
I think he was referring to when I was talking about how like there's all like if somebody were to like bring up a video from like years ago and then recirculate it and stuff like that.
Do you feel like it is?
No, I don't feel like it's very different. But I mean, at the same time, like I don't understand why that video didn't blow up as much as this one did. If that makes sense, like that, there's that little bit of disconnect. So it questions how valid that video that I'm seeing from years ago is. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And the police officers that was with him, I just as much blame as he is because as just as much blame as he is because they didn't stop him. I agree with laser light background guy. Sadly, that's you. It is extremely hard to form any opinion on what's going on due to the unreliability of sources. There's so much bias with all the media. There's no truth.
You can't trust the media.
that's the point, we've been trying to make for a while now, is due to the media and due to social media. Social media has just as much of a say in this. It has just as much to blame in all this for this creation of misuse of information.
I thought the black squares was the dumbest thing.
Really was.
It like, I don't get it. Like, what was the point of posting just like, what does that do? Like, I get it, in a sense it unifies, but what does that really do? Like, what are you doing? Like, how are you putting in action by just posting a black picture on the Instagram?
Right.
I don't get that. Like, that to me, this didn't make any sense.
I think there was a lot of pushback against that from a lot of friends that I talked to. They were like, I don't understand the whole Blackout Tuesday. I think it was more of a, like you said, a uniting way to say we stand with each other. But
Right.
I've heard a lot of people say that they don't understand it and they don't get it. Like, what is it supposed to do? Because when you ask people to step up and like actually make a difference, and you just put this Instagram post, exactly,
Nothing.
it does nothing. Let's see. So is the standard of truth is to see something in person?
I wasn't saying that the standard of truth was to see it in person, but I was kind of using that as a reference. It's like, if I see it with my own two eyes, I know for a fact that it's actually happening. I know, like, it's not that I'm saying that it's not happening. I take that back. That's not how I wanted that to come out. But it's like, that's a reliable source of information. I've seen it with my own two eyes. So like, when I'm saying that, I'm saying, like, I'm only going to take what I know is reliable and form an opinion based off of that information when I say that.
Yeah, because right now, again, to highlight what you're saying is, let's go to the coronavirus pandemic. There are tons of sources that say coronavirus is not deadly and, we're just freaking out. And then you have the other half that says coronavirus is like this end-all be-all and it's this serious thing. It's like, well, what the fuck do you choose to believe, man? Like, I don't know. Like, the World Health Organization said a month ago that it was not, like, contractable from person to person, but now they're saying it is. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't freaking know.
Man.
The use of information, and this is why social media is such a big deal, is the use of information to win your mind over for whatever it is so powerful and often neglected. Like, they think it really comes from the media. They think it really comes from actual media. And I'm not trying to get all conspiratorial here, but you can literally sign into Facebook and see, like, which one of your friends. There's plenty of, especially like for the protests that are going on right now, there's plenty of arguments where they're saying that the riots were started by the police. And then there are other arguments that are saying that the riots were started by the protest. But you're sharing only what you choose to believe. So it's like, it's so difficult right now to figure out what is true. So I think, I think in a general sense, at the forefront, we should all be humanitarians here, and say Black lives do matter. You know what? Fuck it. Screw it. No matter what information is false, no matter what information is true, Black lives do matter. We're not gonna say anything to dispute that, and then we can go from there. But it's this information that is halting the process. What were you about to say?
I just think, like, when it comes to this, it's important to have your own personal beliefs and opinions, but at the end of the day,
what happened? Great, you just turned off your. Keep going, Bradley.
All right, but at the end of the day, like, you can't dispute facts. Facts are facts. That's the truth. That's why, like, I think it's so important for us to establish, a basis for what those facts are, what the statistics are, and use the past as a resource, change the results of what we've already done to try and fix this problem. Maybe tack on to what we did back then, because like there's like two ways that I think it should be, that I think might actually help. How like you're saying, like they're talking about defunding law enforcement and stuff like that. I think that's bad. I think they should put more money into law enforcement, training in a sense. Like there was I was reading the statistics about this country a couple of days ago, where their education system was way down the list, internationally, and they dumped a crap ton of money and raised their standards for somebody to be able to become a teacher. Like they had to have a doctorate degree, they had to have a master's in teaching or whatever the fuck, in order to be able to be hired as a teacher. Like that's what their government mandated in order for them to be a teacher. They had to have certain licenses, stuff like that. And I feel like when you raise the standard, people become a lot more passionate about their job. And like, I feel like once that passion is there for what you do, you're much less willing to risk, losing your job. You're
Right.
going to take it a lot more seriously, and you're going to do it right and by the book,
Right.
And then the next thing that comes into play is accountability. Like, yes, like all three of those cops that were in the video, they're getting charged. Like, I think that's good. They're being held accountable. But like, the way that I look at it as well is like in the military, for example, with the Geneva Convention, like if we're at war and, excessive force being like the rules of engagement back when, we were in Iraq and Afghanistan and stuff like that. If I was standing next to one of my buddies, right, and an insurgent decides to shoot him in the head and drop his rifle and turn around and run, I can't shoot him because he dropped his rifle. He's no longer a threat. And I feel like, if I were to have done that, or if somebody were to have shot that person, that Marine would be held accountable, regardless, if they, hide the body or whatever. I guarantee you there's going to be another Marine that's going to see it, and they're going to hold that Marine accountable and tell somebody when they get back. So I think it comes to like, in terms of force integrity, like they have to have integrity as a whole, and I guess enforce that a little more and help hold each other accountable, regardless if that's your best friend. You know what I mean? And they fucked up big time. Like they broke the law, they did something wrong, and they need to be held accountable for it. Otherwise, anarchy breaks out. Like what's happening?
Yeah, because what's going on right now is, I mean, people are like, when was the last time you heard that a truck just ran through a group of people? Like that shit don't happen, but it's happening now. Like, there are literal trucks running through groups of people.
You know what that sounds like to me? It sounds like the Purge.
Doesn't it? Doesn't it?
Hey, 4th of July? Oh man.
But I mean, so that's the thing. I think it's been like this perfect storm of events. I mean, we had people from COVID-19 locked inside their houses, and then this whole thing happened. It's
Yes, I was about to speak on that. I find that so funny how the government and the media and the people of higher power wanted us to be quarantined, wanted us to be locked inside, to be in our homes, to be inside, and now it's like this agenda where everyone is outside protesting, for one. And, with Georgia being one of the first states to open back up. And in the midst of, there's no vaccine right now. And, everyone's outside. Everyone's literally outside.
Well, they do.
Number one, protesting.
They have a vaccine that they're getting. They've already started human trials on it.
Yeah,
But
it's
a
like
solid vaccine takes years, at least a year or two to fully develop.
But here's the problem. Here's the problem. Everybody just completely forgot about the pandemic. Like, you have people protesting, but they completely forgot that there's a pandemic outside.
There's a bigger agenda being pushed. Like they want this.
Yeah,
they want us to be outside.
I can't help but be conspiratorial sometimes, but because I try to steer away from whatever I can't know is true. But this has seemed like, it does feel like a conspiracy. I mean, I hate to go down that route, but it really does.
Yeah.
We got Val in the chat. What's up, Val? Miss Val Rose. Let's see. Let's go up to some of these comments. No, there's no way they could completely defund law enforcement. It would be like the Purge 24/7, and that's where I think people sort of downplay the police officers. What's challenging right now is you don't like the police until you need them. That's what's rough. because what's happened is now that the protests are going on, the police have been preoccupied with the protests. And I know a lot of people. I actually got a call from a friend the other day, and he was like, "Dylan, you know, we heard gunshots outside of our house while the protests were going on, so we called the police, and the police didn't respond. Like they're preoccupied with the protests. So it's
Right.
like, you know, what the hell's going on? You know." Like, we don't like the police until we need them, so we try to defund them, and then when something does happen, we don't have them. I don't agree with defunding the police. I agree that there needs to probably be reform, but defunding the police seems like an immediate response. It doesn't seem like the right response.
Right.
So, let's see. Let's see. There are a lot of good videos of Army people spraying people with their eyes. Wait, spraying people in their eyes. What's up, Kayla? Why do you think Blue Lives Matter and White Lives Matter are trending?
Blue lives and white lives.
So blue lives mean police, and then white lives mean white people. Obviously, so I mean, do you think there's any? I mean, I think it's all like the notion that people want to hop on the all lives matter train.
Yeah, I was about to say that. You know, people are always going to backlash or come up with some response against any opinion, whether it be Black Lives Matter, you know, all lives matter. There's people are always going to say police lives matter, you know, white lives matter too, yellow lives matter, whatever it is. People are always going to, you know, have a comeback to something.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think I like the analogy of the burning firehouse the best. You know, someone started that. There's a meme going on right now, but it's a really good analogy.
The blonde girl.
Yeah, well, it goes like, you know, yeah, we know all houses matter, but right now this house is on fire. It's like the analogy for using all lives matter versus Black Lives Matter. Like, all lives do matter, and nobody's saying that they don't matter. Everybody's saying that right now the Black Lives Matter house is on fire. So that's why they feel like that. I mean, that's the analogy.
Like, with that subject, I don't understand why, you know, if that's the case, you know, like, why can't both parties who say that all lives matter and Black Lives Matter? Because, like, it could go either way. Like, the people that are saying all lives matter, they're not saying that Black lives don't matter, but then the people that are going for Black Lives Matter, they're not saying that all lives don't matter. So it's kind of like hypocritical in a sense when they both argue back and forth about it. So why not, you know, just be one message? Like I don't understand that. You know, like, because at the end of the day, everybody just wants peace. Everybody wants to be able to live happy, you know?
Yeah.
But do they?
No, they don't. The world's not perfect, you know what I mean? It's impossible. It's impossible for the world to be perfect. And, you know, at the end of the day, you're always going to have people that have, you know, mental health issues. They're going to, you know, do crazy shit. And, you know, we can't, no two people are going to think alike. Like, we can have, you know, some similar opinions and this and that, but like our perception of reality is different for each person, you know? And I think there's too much of a divide mentally, even with the protests. Like I get it to where, you know, I understand the movement somewhat, but like, I feel like it's too divided. There's too many there's too many cliques within the group that don't agree with each other. And I feel like, you know, if you're going to be a movement, everybody needs to be on the same page.
It's funny you say the word cliques, because, you know, I've been giving some thought to what's going on. I've been giving a lot of thought, actually. Why we're kind of doing this podcast. But, you know, there's something in human psychology that separates us. Whether it's sensory input based off of visuals, you know, the perception of the color of your skin, or whether it's, you know, mental factors such as your beliefs or whatnot. And what I mean by this is, take high school cliques for an example. You know, you have your jocks, and it's the jocks that stick together. Then you have the scene kids, and it's the scene kids that stick together. Then you have the orc dorks, and the orc dorks stick together. It's like, there's this common psychology that groups people together in this tribalistic sense. And I don't know if we're past that or if we're just more sophisticated with it at this point in age. So I think that deserves a conversation in itself.
So, okay, my bad, finish.
Go ahead. No, because I mean it's pretty much done. I mean, the other way you could look at it is football teams. You know, we've sort of developed ourselves into these tribalistic groups based off football teams. Like, you could be a huge fan of Georgia football, or then you could be a huge fan of Alabama. I mean, we're not going to talk about how Georgia sucks, but you get the point. You know, you have your diehard Georgia fans that are tribalistic, and I mean,
You say Georgia sucks.
I mean, Georgia sucks at football. Let's be real.
Dylan, wait till I get back to Atlanta.
Let's be real, dude. I graduated from UGA. I'm just saying. So I mean, but that makes sense though. I mean, from a psychological perspective, you have this tribalistic mentality, and I don't know if we've gotten past that, if it's still in our genes, or if we're just more sophisticated at hiding it.
But I mean, like, you can also use the argument though, like back when, you know, this initial movement, not just Black Lives Matter, but with like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and stuff. Well, you know what? No, you're right, because you had the people that thought the violent approach was the way to go, and the fucking people. But yeah, it's still around. But my question is, like, I don't. How is it so nationally recognized then, but yet we still have people who don't like? It's the same issue. I'm guessing. Like, fuck, I don't even know. I don't even know how to put my thoughts into words right now with that. What I'm trying to say.
Right. That's all right. All right.
So back to like the clicks, but what you were saying. I mean, okay. So we have United States of America. We have China. We have Europe. You can think of it as continents. You know, part of cliques of this world. And you know, in the Bible, I mean, it talks about it in the end days that, you know, for nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. And it's like, you know, in a sense, we're seeing this happening right now. But here in the United States, it's like there's more of a bigger division of separation within our own people. Like it's becoming to where, you know, people are really becoming divided instead of becoming united.
Well, here's the thing, especially with the tribalistic mentality that we just discussed. It's based off human psychology. That is a psychological fact that people will separate themselves based off of likeness. It just so happens that racist individuals will separate based off of a sensory input rather than an intellectual common ground.
Right.
So instead of separating or differentiating myself between intellectuals and associating myself with like-minded people, you know, racist people tend to do it based off the color of your skin, which is obviously low-level thinking. They haven't processed that, you know, there's more to a person than the color of their skin. I think we all can agree on that. So to get past that point, what we're talking about now is, you mentioned that there's a political divide, or there's a separation of people.
Right.
There's this political bias.
Republican, Democrat, since the beginning of time.
Right. It's this tribalistic mindset where you're choosing what side of the argument that you want to go on based off of whether or not it's heuristics, based off of small little clickbait material, whatever it is. And I think that that's only going to get worse. And the reason why I say that is because I don't think that what's going on right now is worse than 50 years ago. I mean, because obviously 50 years ago, they were like you couldn't go sit in the same bar as a black person. Like, I couldn't do that. I couldn't marry a black person. I couldn't marry my wife who's Vietnamese. I couldn't do that. Like, I don't think it's any worse now. And Will Smith said it good. He said it's not worse. It's getting filmed. So what's happening right now is we're actually seeing it. We're seeing it with our own eyes, and based off social media and what's being posted, that's the scary part. Is it's creating a division no longer based off of what we used to think as tribalistic, easy sensory input things. It's creating this divide of ideas, which is that's what's hard to tell what's true now. It's because everybody's choosing these ideas. Everybody's choosing things to think about, and yeah.
And like, I think another big issue that comes into play is like constitutional rights. You know, people are talking about, you know, freedom of speech. Like, as a democracy, I think that the sacrifice needs to happen to where, you know, we have to allow people to think differently, whether we believe, you know, it's wrong or not. Like, as much as I hate to say that, you know, somebody shouldn't be able to discriminate, you know, verbally against another person of race, if you suppress that, you know, that speech from them and you tell them that they can't say that, that's infringing upon their constitutional rights, you know. And that's kind of, it's a double-edged sword when it comes to democracy, you know.
Yeah, what happens when I tell you you can't do something? What happens when I say, Bradley, I don't want you to eat chocolate for like 15 days? You gonna want some motherfucking chocolate, dude. The second I say you can't. If I say right now on screen, nobody think of a panda. All y'all motherfuckers just thought of a panda. Every single one of you do not think of a panda. Every single one of you just thought of a panda. Why? Because I told you not to. So I don't think telling people what to do is the right course of action.
You can say that's dictatorship. What Trump's trying to do right now.
Yeah, well, we don't even get me started on how he's handling this, man.
One thing I would say though, I did not like that when he held that speech the other day when he was holding the Bible up, the way he was holding the Bible looked so awkward. I mean, and he didn't even pray. He didn't even pray. He just held it up as a sign, as if this was the answer. This was, you know, like, I'm doing good, I'm doing justice. When all he did was hold it up, and the way he held it up looks so awkward.
Look, I don't care what anybody's
it was upside down too.
Yeah, I don't care what anybody's opinion of Trump is. You know, if you like him, whatever, I don't care. But to be honest, right now, the way he has handled this situation by saying when the looting starts, the shooting starts, or all these guys are thugs, like, that is the complete wrong way to handle this situation.
Right.
Like, it only entices it. So, I mean, I don't know how anybody can. No, I don't understand how people can justify that. Let's get to some of these points here. I'm gonna skip around just because there's a lot of comments. Val Rose said, race war, that's what they want. Kristen says, I think racism isn't an issue in all demographic groups. I don't think it's a problem in a handful of demographic groups. It's something that is shared between all groups that needs to be remedied ASAP. Let's see. And that goes back to the whole tribalistic mentality of where people separate themselves into cliques and based off ideas and groups. That's basic human psychology. You do that in high school with your friends. Everybody just lost their minds due to the virus. So is the protest the biggest problem we have right now? No. I mean, I think the protest is the expression of some of the problems that we have right now.
Martial law. I mean, when Trump tried to release martial law, I think that was something that urged a lot of people. I mean, taking away constitutional rights, you know, when people are speaking up and, you know, Trump saying, because you're speaking up or because you're acting out in free speech, you know, I think that's the problem. That's the issue. Like,
yeah,
man.
That's what America is,
freedom. But they're trying to take away our freedom.
If you guys mind, I want to read this to you. This is, so our last Secretary of Defense, General Mattis, made a comment on everything that's going on. General James Mattis, he was our last Secretary of Defense. He was the
didn't he resign?
Yes,
I think
believe so.
I think it was a response to the military. Are you about to read that? Because I saw where he said the video.
No, it has to do with everything that's going on. It's not.
Okay,
It's
go
not
ahead.
in terms.
Yeah,
I'm
go
not
ahead,
going to
read
get to
it.
that part just because I don't really think I should make comments on what's going on with Trump and stuff. But this part I think is good for you guys to hear.
Okay.
So he said, "I've watched this week's unfolding events, angry and appalled." Madish writes, "The words equal justice under law are carved in the pediment of the United States Supreme Court. This is precisely what protesters are rightly demanding. It is a wholesome and unifying demand, one that all of us should be able to get behind. We must not be distracted by a small number of lawbreakers. The protests are defined by tens of thousands of people of conscience who are insisting that we live up to our values as people, and our values as a nation." He goes on, "We must reject and hold accountable those," and we're not going to get to that part. But yeah, he's just like, we have to unify as a nation, and like every little bit, you know, of manipulation that's happening, you know, with the media, stuff like that. Whether, you know, not even gonna get into specifics. It's just like, as a nation, you know, we have to unite, and you know, the problem is there's too much manipulation with information. There's too much.
I agree. I think as a nation we should be uniting, and the problem is I don't think whether you like Trump or not, that's not up to me. I don't think he's the leader for what's going on, social issues. Whether you like him economically, fine, whatever. I don't agree that he's the one that should be leading us through this, because when you say things like that, that's the problem with. Look, I'm all for non-censoring. I don't want to censor people, and I don't think the president should be censored either. But when you're in that role as the leader of a nation, and you say things like what you've been saying on Twitter, I don't know, man. Puts a bad taste in my mouth. So,
not just the leader of the nation. You could say, you know, us, the United States, are, you know, leader of the world. You know, we're the most powerful nation in the world.
yeah.
So it's globally. It's not just us. It's globally. I mean, these protests are happening all across the world, not just here in the United States, all across the world.
Yeah. Val Rose says, "Hi, how are you?" Sammy T says, "Brad." Let's see. Save the police. Are they under attack? I mean, again, I think all I'm talking about is the defunding of the police right now. I don't know if that's the correct response to what's going on. Because police are being attacked. Not all police are bad people. Let's see. That was Pretty Kitty Meow Meow. Hey, what's up? We haven't seen you in a while. There are bad people and good people. We need to look past uniforms, skin colors, and backgrounds. Reform, yes. Defunding, no. And the police. Not all are bad, but the bad police give a bad rep to all the police. That's the other thing. So, again, we're only seeing when things go shitstorm. We're only seeing when it goes haywire. We're not seeing, you know, what police have to deal with on a daily basis. And not that I don't. Again, I think the immediate response to defund the police is the wrong answer. I think we need to give it some more time and more thought. Yeah, my mom said it right. If someone was breaking into your house, who would you call? The police. I feel like people are saying all lives matter, are downplaying what's going on. It is parallel to the narrative that the media/government is pushing. The looters are within the groups of peaceful protesters, but the peaceful protesters don't support the violence and looting. That's why people ask me what race I am, and I say rainbow because I don't see color. People don't look past the uniform or skin color. Some people are bad, some people are good. Oh wow, we have backtrack on some of these comments. Let me see if I can find. Let's see. Yes, all lives matter, but we need to focus on black people and and other minorities now because white people are not threatened the same. Black lives matter is what is important right now, in my opinion, but it does not mean other lives don't. We just need to push the black lives. Need to push that black lives are threatened differently. let's see. Why can't we all just love each other and respect each other, and what we all have to say instead of being punks and wailing? Chandler, man, the optimist over here. We need to unite in order to make true change. Okay, hold on. Let me get down here. Who is being told what to do? What are people not allowed to say? So, like, especially what's going on, you know, with this is why I understand the protests, and this is why I understand the riots to an extent. When you tell a group of people that kneeling for the flag is unconstitutional, you back them into a corner. It's like, no matter what form of protest you do, it isn't right. So when you're peacefully protesting at a national, football game for the national anthem and the flag, and people are criticizing you for kneeling, it's only now that in retrospective to some of these people are like, oh, okay, maybe we support that kind of protest. It's like, well, why didn't we say anything then? And I think that's where it's coming from. People are not allowed to say or do anything, and it's on both sides. It's on both the right and the left, and that's why it's not just a black and white issue. No pun intended. Like it's there's a lot of gray area with what you can and can't do now, especially on social media. This is where censorship kind of gets out of hand. Where I have a friend on Facebook, and I've been following her for a while. We went to high school together. The shitty part is, she had posted something and someone criticized her for like pandering for views or pandering for likes. And so what she did is she took that person, Snapchatted it, and posted it all over social media and said that this person's being racist. It's like, what the hell? Like, that didn't call for that action. And now, like, there's a group of people that are trying to pull up to her house. It's like, when you're trying to do that's scary. That's really scary. When people are taking these screenshots of where you live, what you do, what you say, I don't know. I don't know, man. That just seems weird, doesn't it?
Man, yeah. I want to take a break from social media. Honestly, I've in my heart, I just want to delete everything and just.
Amen, dude. I'm in the same place. I'm at the same place.
I want to bring up what Mason's talking about right now, because I've been keeping track of the comments. He's saying it's wrong how Trump feels the need to use the U.S. Army to keep protesters from fulfilling their rights. My thing is, like, with him bringing in the National Guard, I can understand where that's coming into play, especially with like Minneapolis, for example, with how their police department was overran. It was completely torn to bits. It's completely in ruins. They have to spend money to rebuild that police department and stuff. And like, I understand, people are gonna protest and stuff like that. But like, if you're gonna protest, keep it within the laws. Keep it legal. The moment that you start, breaking laws when you're protesting, it's no longer protesting. It's a crime. You're committing crimes, and of course, that law needs to be enforced. So the problem is, it's not that people are protesting. It's the problem that there's police that are there to overwatch the protest, and then they get out of hand, and cops end up being overrun because their police department doesn't have the manpower keep it under control. And it's not necessarily they're there to stop the protests and stuff. They're there to keep it in control so nobody gets hurt, so that they can get their message across safely.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, nobody like, let's say, like, I have completely opposing views from, the movement or whatever, and I go out and I feel like it's my right to protest what you're protesting. Constitutionally, yes, you can do that. But who's to say that you're not going to, kick my ass if you weigh 200 more pounds than me and you're going to put me in the hospital, they're there to make sure that people aren't in fear while they protest. That civil conflict has become so great that there's people being put in the hospital and stuff. Just innocent standbys that are like, oh, no, I don't agree with that. And then, they go get jumped. Or, like business owners, they stand in front of their business defending it from, the looters and stuff or whatever. And then they get their ass kicked. It's not a problem of, the protests are happening. It's a problem of people are getting hurt and police departments don't have the manpower to keep it from happening. So I think when he's bringing out the National Guard right now, it's kind of a show of force to keep people at bay that are having the idea, that they can overrun the law enforcement that is there to do their job. You know what I mean? And I don't want to say I agree or disagree with him, bringing in the military. But my thing is, as soon as I guarantee you, like the riots and stuff, they probably died down 10 times as much. Correct me if I'm wrong. In the states that the National Guard has been deployed to, they probably become a lot more in control. And I guarantee you, there's probably a lot less people in trying to fuck with the law enforcement that's there. You're there to protest. You're not there to hurt. You know what I mean?
Well, keep in mind, this is the one disclaimer I want to say about riots and looters. I don't want people to see the riots and looters and say that that's the epitome of the protest. Like, that's what they've come to. While I can agree to an extent that riot and looting are necessarily wrong, I understand why it's happening, but I don't think that just because riot and looting are taking place that inherently discredits all protests. Like, to say that, oh my gosh, they're looting, this dishonors George Floyd's name. Like, I don't think that discredits what's going on right now. So I don't know, man. It's a tricky situation to navigate.
People are definitely taking advantage. I mean,
for sure.
Going to Gucci store, going to Louis store.
They don't have tanks. They're MRAPs. They're bulletproof vehicles. They're not tanks. Like, there is no ordinance being deployed in the United States right now.
What were you saying, Grant?
Not right now, but no, I'm just saying. There are evil people in this world. They're gonna take advantage of this opportunity. People are obviously just want to destroy.
Right.
They just destroy anything around, no matter what it is. Just to make a difference. To say that they're protesting against the government or against wealth. People of high class. The people are just wicked. They're evil. They want to take advantage of this time. To steal, to rob, kill, do all of these things that, just corrupt.
That's why I agree. That's where I stand firm, and I don't think the rioting discredits the protests. There are evil people in this world, and they will take advantage of the system. Like,
right.
Gucci store is getting robbed, so I mean, why the fuck
I
not?
saw that.
Come on,
I mean, I get it. Like, I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying that the riots are not bad. All I'm saying is I don't think it should discredit the movement, and a lot of people are using that to discredit the movement, and I think we need to clarify that. Again, the one issue I have is when you decide to entice violence with violence, you get more violence.
Right.
So exactly what's going on right now with this whole situation. So people saw violence being unjustly utilized on George Floyd. So they responded with the peaceful protests, and then it escalated into violence. And now what that did is it brought more violence. It brought martial law. So I don't know how else to respond to this. Like, it's only going to beget more violence.
Right.
So again, same issue, right? I don't think that the protests are any means indicative of the violence and the riots that are taking place, and I don't think that should discredit the protests again. So
that's good.
Let's see. You could want just hold on. People don't otherwise care about police abuse. Gives the impression that order is more important than justice. If there were no riots, we would be here now. If there were no riots, we would be here now. What do you mean? You could just want justice, but still don't want your family or your own business to be destroyed by a few people under the protesting. So the other thing is, what we have to think about and imagine is, a lot of these school systems that are responsible for, educating some of these populations and a lot of these areas is funded by property tax. And when you do loot, this is something to keep in mind. When you do loot and when you do create violence and you burn down buildings, you're burning down the property owners that are responsible for paying taxes that go into the funding of these school systems. And it also, not only on top of that, is companies like Amazon don't give a shit. Like, they're going to just pull right out. They don't want their businesses destroyed. Like, they're going to release some statement online. You know, they're going to release their statement online, and then they're going to get the hell out. Like, that's the other thing that people have to keep in mind, too. So, like, I see both sides. I see why it's happening. It's just, it's so confusing. It's such a confusing time.
My thing is, like, you know, the three officers have been charged, right? They're being held accountable. So, like, where do we go from now? I understand, you know, making changes within the police departments, you know, making changes with training, you know, stuff like that. Like, the changes need to happen, but that stuff can't happen until things, you know, are under control, because they're not just going to let the population just run all over them, you know. And that
yeah, I don't know what the solution is from here. I
Like, right
don't
now,
know how to
like,
get it. Yeah, you're
the goal
absolutely
has
right.
been attained. The goal has been attained so
Amen.
far.
For real though. Jesus. That's it. That's the answer. That's it. That is the answer.
That's it.
That's a whole nother podcast, but
Yeah, you could want justice, but still want your. Oh, okay, hold on. So, serious question: is it wrong to stay quiet in a time like this for any reason? I don't think so. I don't think. Well, I don't think it's wrong. I think, you know, if you don't know what to say, or if you just feel obligated to say something just because you feel obligated or you have to say something, I don't think you should.
social media.
Yeah, I think people are saying that to guilt people into put pressure on other people, and that's
Social
where
media.
again, that's where it gets scary, because then you have these immediate responses, like people have to do something, and so they have to defund the police. Like, you get these rush decisions, and I don't think that's right. I think you should be listening, interpreting, taking in the situation, and digesting it, figuring out what we need to do so we can actually come up with a real response. If you just feel obligated because someone posted on social media, your silence is something, like, don't say anything. Like, if you're just posting for that reason, stay quiet, man. Take it in, absorb it. Think about it. Don't respond because someone told you to respond. Really think about it, because then that leads to rush decisions, like what's going on right now. And I don't agree with that. I think we should be more intellectual about this. Let's see. It's like putting out a fire with gasoline. By all means, we need to make changes and make them now. And it's tough that it took a Marty for us to make these changes. But an eye for an eye only makes the world go blind. I don't get how setting fire is bringing justice for anyone. Protests, yes. Going batshit crazy, breaking things, no. So true, Sammy. The police are getting arrested. Go home and be quiet. What are you gonna do when someone burns your house down or loots your home? Why is it that when a police officer saves someone, they're only talked about for 1 or 2 days, but when a police officer kills or gets hurt, they are talked about for months? If you are quiet, that is fine. But think of words you say and how they might affect others. Some people do not know how to think for themselves when they don't know about a topic or a situation. Sam Club and other companies had to remove their senior hours specifically for, or they had senior hours specifically for COVID people at risk, and canceled their hours for when the looting started. Gina turned them into Swiss cheese. Again, I see why the lootings happen. I get it, but I think we need to be smart about, you know, setting fire to things, because when you give a reaction, like, that's an emotional reaction to a topic or an issue, like take Nikki for example. You know, if she got pissed off at me and she yelled at me, or I yelled back and I responded like that, I might say some things that I don't mean, right? So I might do some things or say some things that I don't mean. That's why it's important to breathe and think through the situation, or think about what it's going to do. And it's important to realize that when you burn property, it's not just affecting the immediate right then and there, that immediate area. Businesses are going to pull out. That's going to defund schools because there's no property taxes going to schools. So it's a hard situation. I mean, I get the reaction. I get it.
Just the beginning.
Yeah, it's a tough time to be in. Yeah,
like, so like for everybody in here, like there's one thing that, you know, I was told, you know, a couple of weeks ago that kind of like really hit home for me, and it's like it was an analogy. So like you pretend this piece of paper is a relationship, or this piece of paper is another person, right? And you know your words do damage no matter what. You know, no matter what, you have a conflict with that person, right? And you tear that relationship apart, right? You fuck up, you hurt somebody's feelings, you know, you've hit them, or you know, whatever the conflict is, right? No matter how many times I apologize to that person or I try to mend that relationship, it's never going to be the same that it was the first time before it was torn, right? And it's never going to be. And the more, you know, you add fire to the situation, the more you tear it, the more apart and the less unified that piece of paper, or you know, that relationship is going to be. So, and you're just going to keep damaging it. And,
so,
you know,
so that example could be used, and I'm playing devil's advocate here. That example could be used for the black community, and when they say that, you know, slavery is this collective psychology that is perpetrated through generations upon generations, and the relationship between the black and the white community is like that paper. I mean, could I use that analogy here? Is that
you could?
Is that correct?
The next thing that goes on to that is like, you know, you recognize what you've done wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
You recognize what the problems are. You sit back and you analyze, and you know what's the next thing. You really want to mend that relationship. You get you some tape, right? You get you some duct tape. You tape it back up, right? That's being the bonding. That's being the mending. That's the healing process, right? At that point, you know, after that conflict, you know, it may not be the same, but I'm not going to be able to tear that piece of paper back there. I'm not going to be able to tear through that tape, right? That's the emotional reinforcement, you know. And as long as you're unified and you know that adhesive is strong enough, at that point, once you understand, you know, what the conflict is, and you come to that resolution, and you know, you apply that adhesive and that understanding and that sympathy and empathy, you know, correctly, you know, we'll be more unified as a nation than ever. And that's the point that I want us to get to, you know.
I like that.
Right now there's a big divide, no matter, you know, whether it's, you know, the COVID shit going on and, you know, you agree to disagree that this is why it's happening, or like whether it comes to this, it just, you have to be careful with what you say. And, you know, when we do light the fire and, you know, we burn things down, rebuild it stronger than it was the last time.
I like that.
Don't leave things fucked up, you know. And that's just a life lesson in general.
Yeah.
Man, if you fuck things up, don't leave your problems in the dark. Don't avoid them. Don't run from them, you know. Solve them then and there and fix it appropriately.
I like that. And that's where I think I agree. So we're actually at about an hour and 6 minutes in. I think we've kind of talked our audience's ear off. So I appreciate everybody for joining in and being completely respectful about this conversation, because it is a sensitive topic. I just want to say thank you to everybody for keeping it the way it is. I like how the important part is Brad is more than a pretty face. I know, right? He's actually smart. Oh, for all you ladies, he's single. Ha ha. But for real though, I appreciate everybody coming here and being able to openly express their opinions and their thoughts. This is what Daydreams is meant to be. It's meant to be that middle ground. It's not supposed to be like what side is right, what side is wrong. We're supposed to come back and be unified. We want to be that reinforcing tape. So I don't want people to. The problem is, especially on social media, when you get to the point to where everybody's biased or they're only selecting things that they want to share. Like, I want to make sure that we're that middle ground, that people come and express their ideas and are collectively trying to become more intellectual, you know, broadening their viewpoints. So thank you so much for everybody tuning in. We were supposed to be on a hiatus today. Not all Dylans have big foreheads. Oh my gosh. We were supposed to be on a hiatus for 2 weeks, but we wanted to really do this episode, come out and talk about what's going on. So I hope this gave everybody, you know, a good platform to speak their mind, you know, speak their topics, their voice to be heard. I love each and every one of you. Thank you for daydreaming with us. And if you are not already part of the Daydreams team, the Dream Team, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I love each and every one of you. We're going to be on a hiatus next week again. So we'll be coming back on the 16th. So the 16th of June. And I will see all you guys then. Thank you so much. This has been my family. Bradley. Say something. There you go. That's Bradley. And then Grant.
Hey. And one thing I want to share with you guys too.
Yeah.
Watch Planet of the Apes. Watch Planet of the
This
Apes.
motherfucker thinks that. Yeah, I mean, it's probably likely, dude. The SpaceX just sent a spaceship up, man. The next thing we know, those astronauts gonna come right back down, and they're gonna have like a planet of like ape dominated.
It's way deeper than the meaning. Way deeper.
All right, definitely.
And,
all right, that's on your guys' watch list.
Watch Planet of the Apes for real. And for you two, look, we are mixed. We are blessed to be part of, you know, both sides, you can say. And we just have to continue to share, you know, love and to be, you can say, peacemakers. So we really have to use our voice, you know, for all of our days moving forth, you know, because I don't see this getting, you know, better anytime soon.
You know, I was really scared to do this podcast. Not scared, but I didn't know how it was gonna go. But honestly, it went fantastic. This was exactly what Daydreams is supposed to be, and we have to use our voice and risk everything sometimes for the conversation, and that's what we did here. So I love each and every one of you. Yes, everybody, like the vid, share it if you want. Do whatever you got to do. I love you guys. Thank you so much. I love you, Grant. I love you, Bradley.
Love you, bro.
Thank you for coming out tonight. This is my family, so I love you guys. Everybody, take it easy. I wish the world was like Avatar. Oh my gosh, Randall. All right, guys.
Like Avatar?
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Where is the Airbender?
the show, not the movie. Thank you, everybody. Like and subscribe. Have a great evening. Stay safe. Please stay safe. Now, remember to keep daydreaming. Thank you. I love you. Have a great evening. Guys, I'll keep you on the other side. I'm going to keep you going to go ahead in the stream. I'll keep you guys here, okay? All right. Good night, guys.